Good morning. This is News Director Reid Seals for AM 1340 WGRV. I'm here with Greene County Mayor David Crum for our monthly interview after the commission meeting is over. And Mayor Crum, just my first question is, tell me about the health department updates and why they were needed.
Okay. The health department building's owned by Greene County, is my understanding, and we had put some money last year in reserves to do some repairs and remodeling and some stuff over there to make it more accessible. And we had the opportunity to apply for a grant that if we put up $15,000, we got $9,500 or $95,000, wasn't it, in return. So we'll be able to put some coverings. I think it was looking at resurfacing the parking lot, doing some internal things, just a lot of improvements to that building's what they were wanting to do over there. So we're basically getting a whole lot of that done for about $15,000, plus the money that we put in reserve a couple of years ago when they weren't able to get a dentist for a period of time.
Okay. With the passing of the resolution to repair the election office steps, has there been any more thought about purchasing a new building for building and zoning, the election office, and EMS to move into?
I haven't looked at anything else. I don't know if there's something out there, if the commissioners want to move forward with that, but it appeared that, not buying the one right beside us, there wasn't that desire to move forward. So we'll start doing repairs and stuff to buildings we've got, and that'll be one of the big things as we go forward in this budget process. As we've talked to the departments, there's not a whole lot being asked for. We've got some needs in some departments that need some part-time personnel. I may ask for even an additional person in one department that's just really strapped for some personnel there. But we've got a lot of capital projects we're going to need to look at, and we can get into that a little bit if you want to. But we've got a problem. Highway department, building planning and zoning, and animal control all use a two-way radio system. And we're basically having to pay rent on a tower, but if the tower tears up, that company basically is collecting rent for us to be able, but if it goes out, it's gone, and that's a real public safety issue. If you've got weather and other situations, particularly that you may not have cell phone coverage, so you need the highway department needs that for public safety. Building planning and zoning is part of that. The part of them went over in the damage assessment at the wildfires in Sevier County. So we don't always think of that as public safety, but it truly is if we had an emergency, and it's probably going to cost us. We've been monitoring and looking at some pricing, and it's probably going to run up close to $150,000 to put in a radio system for them, because you have to change out all the radios in the vehicles and all that. Our telephone system at not only Town Hall but all across is antiquated, and we get complaints about people calling and the line busy. Well, if you've only got one line you're calling in on and it doesn't roll over, and some of that, it's poor customer service. And I've heard people say, well, they must just have the phone off the hook. They don't answer. Well, no, that's not the case. If you got one phone line, 69,000 people. Now, they're not all trying to call, but some of those offices get a lot of phone calls. And so we really need, and this has been a discussion thing for about 6 years, that we're going to have to look at our phone systems to improve them, the voice over IP and everything, and to try to improve the quality of service there, and also just capital projects to look at large expenditures like for trucks and things like that. It's solid waste. Those front end loaders are about $250,000. The newest one we have is like 10 years old. So you imagine that's hard miles on county roads hauling garbage like that. So we just are really looking at a long-term capital projects plan on what do we need to be looking at.
Has Walter State approached you again about giving them money?
We had the one meeting and they've talked. They're not going to be coming. What I actually suggested, and I don't mind saying, is that they have communication with each commissioner to kind of get their concerns and things and communicate with them and see how do we want this to go forward, in what way or what manner, if it is going to progress. We actually talked to one of their individuals last week, and that was my suggestion, is talk to them one-on-one, the questions they have, be able to answer, and that way they can go back to constituents and answer that. The request is still there. It's just they won't be coming formally for a while with that. It's just something that will be there. We'll be having discussions about.
Tell me about the flags at the convenience center. I know you got a lot of flack from that.
Well, it was something that was upsetting because, I think you need to try to follow proper flag etiquette and take care, if you're going to fly a flag, do it in respect. And I had got a call from a gentleman saying that we should be ashamed of the condition that the flag was in at the convenience center, particularly at Hal Hennard, and that it was in poor shape. So basically sent an email, and I'm going to read exactly the way I sent it to the director down there. Please check the flags at the convenience centers. I've had another complaint regarding the flags. This one was at Hal Hennard, but please have them keep an eye on the flags at the centers. Well, in about an hour, I was getting calls from a couple commissioners that I had ordered the flags removed. Well, that was not. That's a direct quote as what. So apparently somewhere between the email and the communication down, or it was interpreted that I said take them down. And you saw the condition of those flags. They were horrible.
Tattered.
Yeah. They were faded. It was tattered. It was ripped. It was disgraceful. And so they should have been taken down and removed and properly disposed of. So I directed gentleman that's over the convenience centers to check, and we didn't have flags at all of them, but to go and purchase flags for each convenience center and to use proper flag etiquette of putting up and taking down, and make sure they knew if they were getting in poor shape to contact to replace, because if you're going to fly it, do it right.
Okay. And any updates on the Hal Hennard shooting range?
We're moving along, and we're in a quandary there somewhat, in that we won't rain. It's March. We did the proclamation for agriculture, so we're in that time of year that we won't rain. But if you're doing construction, you want dry weather. So we really need some dry weather to get the dirt and stuff finished out and put. But we're moving along, and hopefully they'll get down there within these next couple weeks and start actually doing some construction. The outside shell of the building's finished as far as the administration. Pretty much they've got to finish up the one end, but they're moving along. I went down to Carroll County a couple Sundays ago, drove down there and back to Nashville for some legislative sessions they had, and looked at theirs, and you can't compare the two. Carroll County's range is out in the middle of nowhere with all kinds of acreage. They don't have the hills that we've got here, and our location where we've been, that it's kind of grown up around us. We're gridlocked there, and the cost to move dirt and stuff is just prohibitive. But our facility's moving forward, and I really hope we can finish that thing up by the end of June.
Well, you mentioned rain. I notice every time that the Range Oversight Committee is scheduled to meet at the range, it rains that day. So if you ever want rain, just schedule to meet there.
Yeah. Well.
What is the state of the budget right now?
We're everybody's bringing back their request, and basically the department heads are not asking for anything. They're pretty much. There may be some small little things here and there, and I mean real minor. We've got one department, I don't mind saying, it's building, planning, and zoning. And I get a call myself at least once a week about properties that are overgrown, that are in poor shape. And I tell people, well, the guy that does that also has to go out and inspect buildings. So if you're trying to build a house and you want somebody to come look at your footers, do you want him doing that or looking at the others? So that's one of those departments that reports to me, and I'm going to ask the budget committee and the commission to add a person in there, because our inspections for construction is increasing, and we need to be able to do those in a timely manner whenever people call and they've got contractors there waiting. We need to be able to be there. to do those inspections in a timely manner and in a proper manner to meet the code, but we also need to put a little more time into some of these properties that are just not being taken care of, that are detracting. I had a lady call last week that she had a guy come in from out of town that had looked at her house online and was wanting to buy it until he got there and saw the condition of several of her neighbors' houses. So she said, it's adversely affecting her ability to sell her property. And so, but overall, there's not, I'm not hearing anybody asking for really anything this year. So that's going to go through. As I say, the big issue we've got to address is those capital projects. And I encourage people, go by and look at the election office. We've talked about the steps, but the guttering, the roof, and stuff like that have been ignored for a period of time to where they're getting in poor shape. Our building, planning, and zoning, that 911 building, they're doing some things. The other side, it's in poor shape. Courthouse, we're putting a roof on it, but that's going to pretty much deplete all of that capital projects funds that we've got there. So that's our big issue in the budget right now, and it came up toward the end of the meeting the other night, though, talking about our debt. And that came, we've made great progress in the last 3 years of reducing that down, and our debt per capita, I think, was somewhere in about the 468.
400, yeah, it was somewhere in the $400 range.
Yeah, which means it's very low whenever they start looking. Now, I don't want us to take on any more debt. I think you need to pay as you go for stuff and for maintenance, repair, and all that. But, we have a very low debt. We've refinanced, which is going to save us, a couple $1 million. And so that's, we've made some real progress in that, and we didn't extend out or kick the can down the road, as they used to say. We've really made some great progress on that area. So as some of that debt falls off and reduces, it will be much better for us.
We'll finish up our conversation with just what is going on this month here in Greene County.
Well, I did mention that to our county clerk, Lori Bryant, that I would mention, the third week of the month she's going out to the various locations, I guess, Bayton, Mossheim, Tusculum, and now Camp Creek. So just look at the WGRV website and for that information to see what's going on with her on exactly what her schedule is. Of course, Easter will be here, and I forget the exact date, but that's kind of the 16th.
It's the third Sunday, is it, in April? Okay.
Yeah, the 16th. So we'll have the celebration of our risen Savior there, and for those of us that are Christian, it will be celebrating that time of year before we have our next commission meeting. And the Old Oak Festival will be right after that, coming up that next weekend. So, it's just spring and a whole lot of stuff. People starting to get out and plant. And like those, as Joel Hauser always says, every month plant wildflowers. But, so we've got just spring's coming. And everybody, please take care. Seems like the flu and strep and all that's making a second round, so wash your hands, take care of yourself, and let's all get healthy so we can enjoy this spring weather.
Well, that was a nice roundabout. We started with the health department. We ended with being healthy. Yeah. There we go. Well, I want to thank you, Mayor David Crum, for joining us today here on AM 1340 WGRV. He'll be back next month for another interview after the next commission meeting. This is Reid Seals. Thank you for listening.